All right, we're not going to do a lot of preliminaries. We need to jump right back into our conversation. This is Nothing But Worry. I'm Lance Ash, and this is Bonnie Ash.
Hello.
And we were discussing, well, at least my end of the conversation was discussing how many people can't accept evolution at all, and some can accept evolution, far enough back till we reach like the very origins of what you have to definitely call life. And I think one of the reasons for that is it because if you accept evolutionary processes all the way back to the very beginnings of life, that means in essence, I think, that our consciousness and our self-awareness is a delusion. And I think it is. But anyway, so what was your end of the conversation?
Um, do you want me to go back to what got the whole thing started?
We were talking, yeah, go ahead, yeah, go ahead and just do that, yeah.
So Lance and I have been discussing his online magazine that he does, and I mentioned that perhaps he needs to take it from being part of an overall arc and just continuing this huge arc, becoming more episodic, having a one-off event for some of the characters in it. And I just rewatched the Chris Pine Star Trek series, and so I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I referenced Star Trek Next Generation. I said, overall, it pissed me off all the issues episodes. It was just a little too preachy, and then there was this element also of when they would do the soap opera aspects of relationships. But one things I liked were the one-off episodes or two-parters where there was some event. The Proto-Vulcan episode is fabulous because they're shunning religion and they're moving towards logic, and they want these people to continue on this path because they've seen the destructive property of religion. Another one is the episode where an anthropologist shows up and she gives a story about how she believes that all bipedal humanoids have a commonality.
Mm-hmm.
We have this thing that, despite being spread out over galaxies, she's convinced that there is an origin, a single source, and indeed at the end of the episode you find that there was some ancient race of beings billions of years ago who, for whatever reason, were dying out, so they spread their genetic legacy across hundreds of galaxies. And so it helps to give a background to why this planet of ours, full of volcanism, volcanic activities and instability, suddenly at some point or another there was this spark of life. And then this single cell became a multi-celled organism, and it continued from there until there was some creature who crawled out of the sea and then eventually made its way to land and the trees and the savannas and evolved into the modern hominids. And all this for us trying to address how you're going to deal with your cartoon.
Right.
This is...
I'm gonna go ahead and admit, I'm working on issue 38 of my online magazine Lamp Clouding, which you can find on at my blog. And I like a lot of it, but at the same time I have to recognize that a lot of it is really boring from a story point of view.
It reminds me of those soap operas that your grandmother and my grandmother watched for decades.
Yeah.
And they would go, oh, this character such and such, he was the grandfather of these people. And then every once in a while there's some great drama or some great event like a wedding coming up or a birth or something.
Right.
And it feels like you're cartoons have become the soap opera. There's so many different characters,
Yeah.
so many different worlds, so many different iterations of their creativity, but
Well, I think.
very few things happen. I mean,
Well,
the
I'm.
one thing I remember was the Violet. When Violet came along,
Mm-hmm.
I really liked that part of the series.
What, because she and the Colonel fell in love and all that?
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're gone
Yeah,
from
they're gone.
from the magazine now. They may return. We'll see.
What are you doing?
But but I mentioned this while we were talking off mic as a possible solution, and the more I think about it, the more I think it's a really good idea. See,
Episodic or what?
yeah, sort of, yeah, related to that. I've written many books, and they're almost all of them, collections of just one page, very, very short stories. And some of them are very narrative, and some of them are very abstract. And the more I think about it, I didn't want to do this because I thought it'd be wasteful. But the more I think about it, I think I'm going to write those type of stories and then just translate them into the sequential panel form of comics, because that way some of them can be crazy and some of them can tell an actual definite story.
Well, I would like to remind you of something. Science fiction authors, same as Sherlock Holmes, what's his name, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, a lot of these began their books in magazines, and they would do single one-off stories.
Oh yeah, that was very prevalent back in then.
Etc. Robert Silverberg, who is a great science fiction writer, wrote one of our favorites.
Not a favorite of mine. I thought it was creepy.
Oh, it's weird. World Within, is that what it was called?
Is that it?
And it's basically what he did was he took individual stories that he had written with similar or the same characters.
Yeah, the original Foundation series is all just short stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, connected.
And Silverberg took all these stories and he compiled them into this book. And
that's the one about where the people live in these enormous
Earthmons, or what they
and
call them.
they have no problem with overpopulation because they want, for some reason, as many people as possible.
Yeah. And they live in these multi-story things that go up 100+ stories into the sky. And the people who are at the bottom are the lessers, the people at the top.
There's people who live outside, too, in like a sort of primitive manner.
They are the crop people. They farm. They produce the food for these giant cities.
Do you remember there's the culture they've developed living in the giant cities is if you want to have sex with somebody, you just say, I want to have sex with you. And they go, okay.
They have a thing called night walking.
Right. But out in the countryside, out in the rural areas,
you stay with your family group.
It's like today. I don't just fuck somebody, So he doesn't. The guy gets exiled or escapes or something, and he interacts with these primitive people.
And he does not really primitive.
He tries to rape this woman because he doesn't understand that she doesn't want to have sex. He's just totally baffled by the concept.
I think that a lot of those stories at that time are a response to feminism also. Who was the one that did the Mars book?
Bradbury?
No. He had a...
Oh, you're not talking about with the Gore series, are you?
No. It's the young man who has inherited Mars. He's the one who has the single claim to it.
I've never...
Anyway, his stories end up going into this sexuality that's it's beyond freedom. It's extreme sexualization. Anyway, so where were we on this? You need to focus on having the single stories.
I think I'm going to do that. I think
like Silverberg did. Bring them all together, maybe at the end.
Well, I have an idea. I have two ideas, and I'll just go ahead
universe.
You've kept up with the story enough. You know what I'm talking about when I say these characters. I think, and this is something that I actually kind of prefaced in a couple of previous issues. I think I want to have the West Queller character grow sick and tired of having... See, West is sort of like the leader of the Hidden Workshops group, which is a group of people who make art or concept art for licensed products like oh God, what's one? Holly Hobby that had lunch boxes and posters and dolls and shit. Well, that whole thing, like Ziggy and Hello Kitty's the prime example.
Nowadays it's Marvel.
But that character exists only to be licensed to make
Oh.
products, and that's basically they make the artwork for these products. For like Blueberry Black Shoes is one of their characters. It's sort of like a combination between Holly Hobby and Huckleberry Finn, and but he has the company that actually owns the rights to all this shit is the Grausamilch. It's a German word, Grausamilch Properties, and he's growing increasingly resentful that they are the boss. Now that the whole world they live in has gone just absolutely bonkers, he thinks it's stupid. So I'm thinking about having the first story we do for this new issue, or starting next issue, is him deciding that he's going to try to find a way to get the Hidden Workshops group out from under their thumb. And that's one idea. And the other idea you just mentioned, I think is a good idea. Maybe catch up with Violet and the Colonel and see what they're up to. Because in the overall story for the last several years, Violet used to be one of the members of an extremely secretive and powerful cabal of people, and she's the only black character in the magazine, and she was the only black person on this as a member of this board, and she's also the only woman. The rest are all white men, and they always vote against her. Usually, so they vote finally to kick her out. And that's when she finds the Colonel, and they fall in love and everything. And he has recovered his powers to travel, kind of like Doctor Who.
Transdimensional.
He has a transdimensional scow, and he's finally recovered the ability to travel that way. And she goes with him, and they're gone out of the magazine. Well, the reason that she left first, and he had to find out where she went. That's right, and he goes chasing her down. So. Catch up with that. Find out how the Colonel catches up with her.
Now, was he friends with Chris?
Yeah, Chris was like his slave.
Chris still around?
Chris has broken with the Colonel for good.
So he's still in the current.
He has joined Van's band. Van's formerly stoner rock band.
Okay, so there's your link back to the current.
Well, the reason Violet left was because she's brooded on being kicked out of the group long enough. And now she's going to go get them and force her way back in or confront them. And so the Colonel's just like going nuts now that she's gone. And so he finally gets a way to catch up with her, and he leaves. So find out how he catches up with her and how she sticks it to the
stick it to the man.
To the secret group of people. What was their Factrum and no, that's not it. What was their name? The name of the group.
Factotum?
Well, the name there was some organization called Factrum Inductrix in the but I can't think of that. That's what they were called or not. This has been going on way before the magazine started. I used to do a self-printed zine called Crocodile, and all these characters and all this seeds of this story started way back then. I was working in it. This was like 2014 or 13 when I started all that.
So you were in Atlanta?
Yeah. I started in Atlanta 2015.
Huh.
Yeah. But I remember passing out copies of the issues of that zine up there. I gave a couple to Tiffany, and I wonder, one of them had a sexual content. Oh, it's because, that's right. What was his name? This cool looking guy has sex with Easton, and he's got like an enormous dick, and it hurts her. Oh. And that was in one of the issues that I gave to Tiffany. I said, I'm going to warn you, there's a little bit of sexual content on this one, so
you shouldn't have given that to people at work.
Well, I warned them,
No, still, it's a phrase not suitable for work, dear.
What was that character's name? He was really cool.
I don't know. There are certain things you don't do.
She Midden Nux is the leader of one of the little subgroups within the story. And he used to have this sort of rhinoceros hairdo where he had two horns of hair that stuck up. And I got tired of drawing it, so I wanted to explain how he gets a regular haircut. So Easton goes with him to the barber shop, and they're waiting for him to get a haircut. They're looking at different styles of hairdos, and I can't remember. She goes, "How about this one?" He goes, "Ha ha, very funny." No, maybe he said that to her. And he says, "What are you talking about? That's John Holmes. What are you talking about?" "Well, so-and-so had a really big dick." And he's like, "I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it." Yeah, he had a... You remember what I'm talking about? You read this issue, right?
I don't recall this, no. All
Well,
I'm thinking of is not suitable for work.
You ought to
He ranks right up there with like hugging on people. Where you don't do it.
You know, if you want to really help me, you ought to catch up with the story. Go back and read the old
Oh
stuff.
my God! Can you even find it?
Oh, I got a stack of them in my room. I'm hoarding it in case somebody wants to give me big bucks for them. At the local libraries in the young adult section, they used to have a display of zines, like locally made zines or famous zines from around the country. So I just printed up a couple copies of mine and went up there and just stuck them in with the rest. And I know that they actually got read.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember? I remember this. On one of our first dates at Jittery Joe's, he's showing you, what was it, Duplex Planet or something? Is that the name
Well,
of
we
it?
discussed it, and I said I had already heard it about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I've got a copy of that in my room.
I think they had copies of it up there.
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, I swiped one. That's why I have one. I had heard about that years ago in...
Well, this is, like I said, 30 years ago. When we first started dating.
I had a WFMU catalog, and that was one of the things that they sold.
Utrecht station out in California?
No, it's a freeform radio station up in New York State.
Oh, God, you introduced me to so many things. I can't remember.
I read a story by or piece by the programming director of the station, and he described, or maybe anyway, the thing is they have like on any given day they'll have like 10 DJs, each with his own show, and they can play whatever the hell they want. It's freeform.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
what was this thing that Dr. Demento was on? What was that out?
That was
California?
a nationally syndicated radio show. I don't know where it was based out of, but he would play wacky records by
Al
like
Yankovic.
Al Yankovic got his start by sending in one.
Yeah.
And like Spike Jones and this old novelty records and goofy shit,
That
Disco
guy that
Duck.
recently died. What was his name? He died in the past month. He did the is it Pigeons in the Park?
Stern. No, not Stern. What was his name? God damn it.
Peter apparently is a big fan of his, as is Frank.
Lehrer. Larry. I can't remember his first name. Richard Lehrer? Lehrer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, look. Let it keep running. I'm going to get a sip of tea.
Well, no, we're not going to keep it running. You're going to pause it, dear.
Okay, I'm pausing. Okay, now what let us be talking about Richard Lehrer?
We were talking about
the freeform radio station.
Yeah.
But the derivation back from that was they had a catalog of crap. This is before the internet. You couldn't get fringe books and CDs and movies just readily. So they had all this cool stuff for sale, and that's how I first heard about whatever the hell it was we were talking about. Oh, Duplex Planet, that's right.
Yeah.
Going back to my magazine. My boring magazine. The artwork is fine, but it's just...
We got to work on the story arc, moving it towards...
You ought to read what I've written so far for the new issue. I love bringing Toskabode and Jerry back, because Jerry's the only one who has the balls to tell Toskabode, you don't know what the hell you're doing. None of this makes any fucking sense or has any purpose to it. You've got to decide what the hell this is going on.
Okay. So you and I were discussing earlier that you were thinking about writing a single page or two of story, and that story would be
Mm-hmm.
complete in and of itself. It would have a beginning, middle, and end, a
Of a
conclusion.
sort. Yeah.
Yeah, of sorts. It would be something that would happen, and you would put the panels with it. What I
Right.
didn't say was recently you had a project of couplets,
Mm-hmm.
and I had hoped that the couplets would individually all come together and have a story overall.
No, not for that particular group of couplets, because that was deliberately done to be like sort of surrealist, just a collection of like Edward Lear
Well,
nonsense
that's the
things. Yeah,
thing. The dong with a luminous nose.
yeah,
Didn't he do that?
yeah.
That,
But now
that was a story.
I did do a series of couplets that did form a story. That was the ethereal quiche. That
Yes.
was.
And that
What did
was
you think?
sketch. And I thought that was well done.
Everybody who's read that has thought it was really well done,
It's cohesive.
and it's funny.
The thing about the painting project is it seemed like it should have been cohesive as a writing style
Well, I mean,
instead of individual panels.
that's something I I've pretty much given up on the idea of my painting being anything close to fine art, so called, and I really should embrace the illustrative aspects and the illustrative underpinnings of my work. So you've got to marry them with text. So
To
that's
this day, people will look at Edward Leary, Gorey, and all them and look at the illustrations and they will latch on to that
hmm
single panel and they know that there's something more there behind it. And sometimes they can look at the panel and they remember the entire story that goes with it. And it feels like what you need is these panels that are standalone. They have the scene within,
hmm
and then below you would have the writing, the text.
Well, what I thought you were going to suggest is actually write the story and then chop it up into individual sentences or groups of sentences that form like a accompaniment to an illustration,
Yes.
and then put the text actually in
Eh,
or under.
under, under. See, one of the problems I have with you thinking that you want to show this latest series of couplets
Mm.
is that we put the words on the
Well, I
painting,
did that.
and there's no way to do that. Right now, what you have is an
Well, I'm not going to do
illustration
that again. That was a
with
specific project.
this gap, and so it makes a painting that stands alone feel empty somehow.
Well, that was just a one-time project because I deliberately wanted it to look like an illustrated children's book from back when I was a kid. Like what's the damn like Ed Emberley or that one about the witch. The
Oh,
text that was really my inspiration or my model for the thing because I liked the way the text was put inside these sort of abstracted sky scene, skies, background skies.
yeah, but there was so much more within the picture itself.
Oh, I
All
think.
the details on those
Well,
drawings.
I'm not going to give up the fundamental hallmarks of what I do. That is, I draw a border around the central composition, and there was no way to integrate that with a really meticulous background like what you're talking about. Now, what I'm doing now is different, totally new project.
I've always thought that you should take your individual characters, you create borders with these individual little creations, monsters,
Mm-hmm.
machines, faces, etc. I always thought that you should do them and confine them to, say, a 4 by 4 inch space, and then put them
Yeah.
4 by 4 onto an overall picture so that they're spaced out slightly. Like, say, a baking tin has,
Well, the thing is, paintings take so much longer than drawings. So there's a limit on how much I can turn out. So you got all these ideas for projects that you can do using the paintings as illustrations. And the one I'm doing now is the text is not going to be on the image. It's going to be beside it, as if what's a book? What? Think of a children's book where, like, say
well,
the
I was
left-hand
thinking of
page is
Blake.
what?
I was thinking of Blake's illustrations and such.
Well, no, his illustrations were on the image.
Yeah,
But what I'm saying is, like a children's book where
it was.
through the whole book, every left-hand page is a full-page illustration, and every right-hand page
Yeah.
is a story that accompanies
Okay.
it. That's what this new one is.
Okay.
I've written 32 pages of stories, just like what we're just talking about, and I'm doing a painting for each one. So there you go.
Okay.
But they don't overall make a story. Each one is a self-contained story. Each page. So maybe a goal is to work towards one day having a cohesive 32 pages, makes all one story. But I hate doing the same. I like making up the people for each painting and not trying to duplicate them from painting to painting. I hate doing that. I've done that before.
Yeah.
You remember the Blueberry Black Shoes, I mean, the Colonel story.
Yeah, I do.
I thought that was one of the best things I've ever done. But it's on the blog, but it's the
It
photograph.
seemed to be a little long. It seemed to go on a little long.
I think it's
The
like
impression I was left with.
20 pages, which would be 40. I can't remember. No, it was either 12 or 16. I know that.
It just seemed like there's this one part where you went into this area and it was like a museum of blueberry black shoes or something.
Well, what happens is Blueberry Black Shoes doesn't know that he's just a licensed character, like Strawberry Shortcake or Holly Hobby or whatever. And within the context of the thing, the reader is supposed to know that the recurring theme with the Blueberry Black Shoes character is that he always loses his dog Billy and then gets him back. So in the story,
Yes, he saved me again
so in
this
the
week.
in the book I wrote and did paintings for illustrations for, one day Blueberry Black Shoes loses his dog Billy like usual, but he can't find him. It really drives him crazy. He's like, well, usually by this time I've found the dog, I found Billy. So he goes into the woods where he's not supposed to go, and he comes across Colonel Calcular, who was a big recurring character within my overall fictional world. And the Colonel knows everything. He knows that he's that Blueberry Black Shoes is a fictional character, and that he doesn't know who he is or what he is, and so he's going to guide him through this search for his dog Billy in order to give him some measure of self-awareness. And so during the course of the story, when they finally actually you know about the Red Party within my universe, right?
No.
The Red Party is kind of like death. It's kind of like a combination of heaven and hell. And in order to take Blueberry Black Shoes where he needs to go, they go to the Red Party. And there, the Colonel gives him back Billy, but it's a hand puppet. And Blueberry Black Shoes puts him on his hand. He's strangely put off by how inadequately animate he is, because he's acting funny. And the Colonel's like, it'll be okay. So anyway, by the end of the book, the dog has come to full life again like he was before.
Oh, Pinocchio, you're a real boy.
But the Colonel has left things so that Blueberry Black Shoes and the dog are beyond the reach of the licensees anymore. They're living in a totally different realm now. So
Okay.
I thought it was one of the best things I've ever done. I did that 10 years ago.
This supports what we were saying about this huge story that has just continued to go
Well,
out of control, and that's one of the few things that actually was a story and a conclusion.
right.
It
Well,
just
about 4 or 5 months ago, you and I were in. Sorry, you and I were sitting in there.
Hannibal Lecter.
Well, I have bits of skin on my teeth, on my lips. I can't get off. Well, you and I were sitting in the library, and we were talking about basically this, and you said something about, do you really take this seriously? I mean, do you really take the characters and the concepts? I think you were asking me about the Colonel and Toad's Boat and so forth. How much do I really identify with them on some
Yeah.
aspect? And I'm like, yeah, I really do. This is something I really believe in. I really. Sorry, I got a belch.
No.
I don't know. I just. All that Bonnie made pasta salad earlier with
Too much pasta salad.
a lot of pasta salad. Mine had carrots and peas, and Bonnie's had carrots and peas and celery and bell pepper.
Yeah, he can have one with dairy, and I can't have dairy. So I add a little extra to give it something.
So I know all of that is really playing hell on my guts, stomach. But
I went into carb overdose from that pasta. It just crashed earlier.
so what I was going to ask you is go back to that question I asked you earlier. So how much do you grasp the overall fictional universe that I've created in different media?
The thing is that there are so many different characters, and the characters oftentimes transcend different universes. They travel between them, and that's kind of like where it loses me.
Well, if you read the damn thing.
It isn't. I did read it. I read it every time it comes out. It's just that there are so many different branches to the tree.
Well, okay. Let me just mention one thing real quick. There are recurrent themes, even if there aren't anything happening. Bonnie's like, you need to make something happen. I know nothing ever happens, but one of the themes is in the story. Toad's Abode was just this legendary figure from the past that they had read about and hero worshipped as kids, but now he's actually there. And so, to get him back to what I was saying about Wes Queller, the leader of the Hidden Workshops group, he and the rest of the guys in the group are like, they really resent the fact that this mythological creature or person with all of his powers has actually manifested.
Well, I was reminded of that old movie with Honor Blackman playing one of the goddesses of Greek literature.
Jason and the Argonauts.
Yeah, where they have the players on the chessboard and they are playing with humans as if they are just toys, And I felt like your character should be that godlike figure, He just fucks with people's
Well, in the webcomic Doodle Notes that I did years ago, Toad's Cabot was the main character. And one of the rules of that comic was he and Jerry were the only characters that could not be killed. I could kill off any other character in the strip, but not those two.
gods.
So when I decided I used to sign my work, Toad's Cabot, my albums, my novels I've written, my paintings, my comics, everything. And I finished writing a novel that featured Toad's Cabot as the main character. And he's, I don't want to get into we're getting into the weeds here, but I decided to kill him off and go back to using my real name because it got to be too much. It got to be too confusing in my head as to who I really was. Bonnie knows I'm not fooling around. I'm that mental.
He has issues, people. He has issues.
So I decided to kill him off.
I'm his adult caretaker.
And by breaking that rule of the Doodle Nose webcomic, I ended the comic too. And it took me a long time to get my footing again, drawing comics. But I did 13 albums of material under the Toads Cabot name. Most of them suck.
That was back when you were doing your faux voice instead of your real voice. For years, I complained about the way that Lance sang, because, in my opinion, he was being disingenuous. He didn't have his true voice. And I likened it to those middle school girls that had that airy-fairy soprano or wannabe soprano voice, where they were just all air
Well,
and
the thing is,
no tone.
okay, I'll give you the reason why I sang like that. I thought mistakenly that there's no way I can sing with enough volume to be heard or recorded properly unless I was singing in a high voice. And it took me a while to learn how to sing in my regular voice, so-called regular voice, a lower register, and be heard or recorded properly. But I can do it now.
I liken it to when I had to learn to sing for stage. Because I had done musical groups, ensembles, etc., choral groups. I was used to singing that particular way so that you blend your sound with others.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was in like a quartet and a septet and stuff. But when I got onto stage, the director had to take me aside and say, you're going to take your speaking voice, and that is what you're going to base the song on. So instead of relying on what you do musically when you're doing a choral thing, you need to rely on how you normally sound. And the first person I thought of when he said that was Ethel Merman. You remember her?
Oh, she would just, belt them out.
She was just belt them out. And the funny thing was, when I did it, he laughed and he said, that's it.
Well, do you remember in The Music Man, Robert Preston is telling those four guys, they really are the Buffalo Bills in real life. They were like one of the biggest barbershop quartets of all time. And he tells them, you guys ought to sing together. Oh, we can't sing. We don't know how to sing. He goes, that's not true. Singing is just sustained talking. And they look at each other, and all of a sudden they're harmonizing perfectly. Yeah.
I had a friend that was in a barbershop quartet. He was my age. We were in our 20s. And he was singing with old men that were in their 50s and 60s. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was the funniest thing that he would join this group and do barbershop. And now here it is. It was 20 years later, and barbershop started making a comeback on shows like Glee and other things. They started doing these little things where they were blending and harmonizing and things. And I was like, oh my God, Dean was ahead of his time.
It's funny because if I had known, this is a true case. If I had known then, because I wanted to be a rock star so goddamn bad, or some sort of musical performer so bad from the time I was like 16 up until I was about 25. That's when I started. Anyway, I could have actually done it because now I know how to sing properly, how to play the guitar properly and everything. But back then I was just, lost. What did you want to be when you were, like not like job, but like, aspiration, like actress or something,
What age?
We'll say 17.
I wanted to save the world.
Really?
Yeah, I basically wanted to go and be an aid worker and save the world. So I had my small moment.
When did that evaporate?
Quiet you. So I had a small moment in the sun where I went and did that, and then burned out very quickly and ended up married in the middle of nowhere, living with this husband who
is that better?
Laughs like a carrot.
Is that better or worse than my lament? Never been nowhere, never done nothing.
I've definitely had a better life than you had.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I mean, I
Well, you and I are we're always telling each other that our children,
have never done anything with our
what, when
lives.
we were their ages, we had been through some shit.
Yeah, I had literally jumped off cliffs. It was just like, what the hell? Why aren't you kids jumping
I
off
had been
cliffs?
through multiple surgeries. I had been in and out of alcoholism. I had been through several just lunatic relationships, and you know,
There were
works.
times that I would just take off, and I would find myself several states away, and I'm whitewater rafting. Literally jumping off a cliff into a pool of water below, not knowing what's there. There was this point where I was an absolute adrenaline junkie.
Yeah.
And I was a loner. I wanted to do these things solo. So I would disappear. Boop, gone. If I had been taken by some kind of random serial killer, nobody would be able to find me.
Yeah, I used to go off.
Did you ever hop on a plane and just go somewhere spontaneously?
No, I never had the money for that.
Ah, well, okay.
No, I used to go to Atlanta just trying to find my way around, or go off to South Carolina on a shoplifting spree.
My father made certain that when I went to Atlanta, I knew the ring, the key roads, and how to get back to key points and stuff. And I remember him driving me around in my young teenage years saying, these are the landmarks to remember, and teaching me tricks on driving in traffic and stuff. Because he knew that I just had a wandering spirit, because at that point I was already spending my summers abroad. And he's like, you should know, these things in life and how to get around.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's. You want? What do you want to give some events of the week, or do you want to?
Oh, dear God, our week. You have been off. This is now your second night off. This one was planned because
Yeah,
we
we were-
had an appointment today.
It's
But
gonna have a-
like
gonna have a 3-day
yesterday was
weekend.
unplanned.
But it turned into a 4-day weekend because day before yesterday.
No, yesterday. Oh, is it already past midnight?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So anyway,
Wednesday.
Wednesday morning, I came home at 8:15 roughly. Walked in the house and realized immediately something was wrong with the air conditioning, because it was warm and muggy in here, and we could not get the air conditioner to work. And so we called the people who service it, and it took them
All day to get here.
all day to get over here. Meanwhile, the temperature in here climbed up to 89, roughly. We don't know how accurate that thing is.
The humidity was put it well close to
So I had to
95, 100.
I had to call in sick because I can't sleep like that. And if I don't sleep, I'm not going to work.
It's more than that. If you don't sleep properly, you're subject to getting seizures.
So, anyway, the guy finally came and fixed it, and slowly it got colder and colder in here. Thank goodness.
It took overnight to get the humidity out of the house.
As Andy Rooney once said, people who don't like air conditioning are crazy. Oh, me. Now I'm getting droopy, sleepy.
Oh.
I need to have some more tea. Okay, I'll try that and see if that gets me going for another 15 minutes.
So, a moment ago you mentioned Andy Rooney.
Mhm.
It reminds me that, you have something on your chin.
It's chapstick. Vanilla flavored
Other side.
moisturizer chapstick.
So, the other moment you mentioned Andy Rooney.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that we were watching Jon Stewart Daily Show the other week, and he referenced Andy Rooney. He goes, if you don't know who that is, go ask your grandparents or your
Yeah.
parents. And that gives you an idea of how old we are. You realize we were born in the 1960s, and that kid who came in and worked on our AC
He's younger
was
than our children.
21 years old.
It's younger than our children.
I went so far as the kid came in, and he goes, where's your secondary system? And I said, we don't have a secondary system. You should have a secondary system. At that point, I
Two
want,
heat pumps, essentially, is what he's saying.
you have an exterior system and an interior system, and then you have a separate ventilation area. And I said, we don't have a secondary system. Everything's exterior. And he was confounded. And after he'd been out there for 45 minutes poking around, I called the air place and I said, we have a few concerns. This kid, who looks all of 12 years old, came in and he started talking about this, that, and the other. I said, I'm concerned he doesn't know what he's doing. So we can assure you he's properly trained, etc. But we can send somebody else out there. I said, can we consider that? She goes, well, it'd be 7 before we can send anybody out. I said, okay. So about 15 minutes after I got on the phone with them, he comes in and he proceeded to impress the hell out of me. So I had to call them back and say, we don't need a second person. This person's adequately explained it, etc.
Well, you remember how competent you were when you were 21.
I was extremely competent and confident. And yeah, I basically had bull by its horns, the world, you know. And this kid came in and he has a tablet with him. And he has photographed everything. Every single component. And he's not only photographed every single component, he has read the meter output, how much electricity is being received and put out by each of the parts in, and he said, you've got to have this replaced. It has this amperage and it's inadequate to do this, and then the input is this, the output is this. And he said, this part right here is your blower, and the blower mower needs to be cleaned out. You'll notice these areas. He schooled me. He schooled me. This morning, I called the company. I go, yesterday I called, and I expressed concern about this 21-year-old. No more. I got to tell you, that kid impressed the hell out of us. And they were very pleased. I said, I want you to make certain his boss knows that we have no reservations about him ever coming out here again. He can come work on our system again. But ends up he had left high school and gone straight over to Athens Tech and done his little 2-year program or whatever it is and learned it inside and out, so that even when he had questions about our system, he got online, because once again, somebody could not get online using cell phones out here. And he got online using our wireless system and researched the system and the different parts and components and made certain he had everything correct. And he knew what the specs were for each of those things and what were expected. And he impressed us.
I really didn't have much involvement in this because I don't like dealing with people.
But yeah.
And I was trying to, the guy came in and showed me, this is what the thing looked like before and this is what it looked like after I cleaned it. It was interesting.
He was good.
We have creatures that crawl up under the house and give birth, and
we were concerned that some of those had ended up in our AC unit. They had not. It's like that time you had to pull out the vulture.
We have buzzards that live around here, the big, black, ugly things. And one day I was out back and I heard ka-ching, and I turned around. I was like, something just happened to the heat pump. I turn around and look, and the fan thing on top is skipping over something. I thought one of the branches has fallen and gotten lodged in the fan. It was a baby buzzard. And his beak was clacking against the fan blades. Oh my God.
And you had to pull out all the feathers, the body, the beak, the legs.
I used a stick or something because I don't touch things.
Oh God.
When I was a little kid and we had to go fishing, and I mean had to, and learn to bait your own hook, I would pick the worm up as if I was, performing something that had to be done. Like, you don't want to touch the wounded soldier, but it has to be done.
You have to stop the bleeding.
So, and I would, instead of threading the hook through its body, I would put it down on like a tree trunk or something and push the hook through it like that because I couldn't bear it. I didn't have any interest in fishing in the first damn place.
You know, that's the thing with me and you. We had a stepfather that went out and bought all the gear and stuff so they could take me and my sister fishing. And I found it very peaceful. And I was very disappointed we'd never gone again. But he didn't have live bait. He bought the little, rubber wiggly things and stuff.
When we were really little, we did have that kind of stuff. But my main memories of fishing are a little couple years later, like with the Boy Scouts or yeah.
I just think it's an excuse to sit on a stream bed and a river bed and
I find it hard to
put
relax.
your feet in, and I like it.
My favorite activity when I was that age was for my mother to drop me off at the Athens Library by myself. I could spend 3 or 4 hours there alone, just roaming through the books. That was just wonderful.
I remember many, many outings at different parks and riversides and stream beds and such. And there was this feeling that you got of being in the middle of nowhere. Feeling like there was no one else in the woods, you know?
Now that was what I got out of just walking alone in the woods, yeah. When I was little.
And at one point we had a place that we would go to in our neighborhood. It was the undeveloped properties down below. It bordered a park that had several hundred acres and a wildlife trail and stuff. And so the neighborhood had this undeveloped couple of lots that bordered this, so you could go down, access the backside of this park. And we would jump over creek beds and we would swing on vines. And there was just something so nice about huddling down in a creek bed where the earth was above you, where you couldn't be seen from anyone looking through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a coolness to the earth, and the way that the water bubbled and the sounds it made as it hit the rocks and the branches, and you could watch the leaves and the little animals in the water. It was so peaceful to be able to escape to that sort of thing.
I can't remember. Maybe I went up to the graveyard and did it that way. But one of the last times I ever went on one of my big walks to the woods, I don't know how old I was. Maybe 12, maybe 13. Instead of going to these woods back here, I went up to the woods behind the graveyard up here. And I made my way behind the Hauser's property over...
Where that neighborhood is now.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Behind the church.
But there was a little tiny creek in there. And this is really deep in the woods. And there was an upturned old kid's wagon thing. Sort of like halfway rusted through. And at the time I thought, how in the hell did this thing get stuck here? And I come across it.
Washed downstream on a heavy rain.
Maybe. But I just figured, years and years ago, somebody dragged it up in here and just dumped it.
Well, you and I went to Bridal Veil Falls, I think it's North Carolina, several years ago.
Is this the one we went up there with the kids and walked that long way up to it?
No, that's Anaruby Falls. No, during COVID, everything was shut down, and so you and I went up north for a weekend. We ended up going to that honey selling place up there.
Yeah, that was a Thanksgiving weekend, and we went up to Highlands, North Carolina. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it was just one of those things. We stopped at Bridal Veil Falls. But
is this where they had that observation deck on one side, and I had that expensive camera your dad loaned us, and I was going to try to...
That was another location we stopped at on the way. That was Tallulah Gorge. We stopped going up. Now, Bridal Veil Falls was on the side of the road, and he stopped, and he pulled over, and he walked over to the falls, and they fell off the side of the mountain into this waterway that then drained out underneath the road. And behind it, the stone had been carved into because of blasting the road away. And so you could walk behind the falls. You don't remember this? I can show you pictures later.
Wouldn't you love to go back in time and see what all that area was like back when that was like a what do you call it? A winter getaway for the rich up north.
Oh, Tallulah Falls used to have a hotel that
Giant
extended out
overlooking
over
the
it,
yeah.
overlook the
I think it
falls.
burned down or something.
Yeah, very unsafe. Well, when I first started driving, one of the things I would do would be just take off to the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could drive 6, 8 hours at a time, stopping only to pee, and then get back on the car and go.
I'll tell you. Oh,
And I stopped at so many places solo, and just there was a lay-by where you could just pull off and walk out, and it felt like you were in the middle of nowhere.
I'll tell you that this is a childhood memory. That horrible trip, family vacation that I took as a kid, where it may have been when we went to Biltmore House. I can't remember, but anyway, they had like a whole week or two off. My parents did, so we were going to go on a family vacation. Well, they spent like 1 or 2 days at the main destination and like wasted the rest of the time just driving back aimlessly till we ran out of laundry and had to stop in the middle of the night at the laundromat, and then my mother washed clothes all over again. And there was a blizzard or something, and my dad is trying to drive way up high in the mountains, and he got so sleepy he just pulled off on the side of the road to sleep. And a state trooper came up and said, "You can't sleep here, and plus it's snowing." You know, I can't believe my dad did that. He would have been
When you
40.
first told me that story, I thought you didn't enjoy that. You didn't. I mean, as kids, you do want to have some directionality. You don't want to be stuck in the car. You want to do
You
things.
don't want to freeze to death.
Well, there's that too. But I mean, I remember the freedom of being able to get in the car and just go.
Oh, if you're on your own, that's different. Not at the mercy of your parents who don't know what the hell they're doing.
I remember being able to stop at places just willy nilly. Even when the kids were little, we did this occasionally. I remember we decided we were going to go to some town. And on the way up there, I'm like, oh, pull over. There's a park. They've got a little market there. And you and I got pumpkin butter and apple butter and a couple of other things. And it was so nice just to be able to do that and wander around.
I think I've told you this story before. Up in the Georgia mountains, they grow all this stuff. They have local produce on the side of the roads for sale.
Is this you and Catherine picking out?
No, just me.
Oh, you pig.
They had some country store on the side of the road, and in the back, oh, it's apple cider. That's what it was. It had different jugs of apple cider you could buy, and they also had a little machine where you could get free samples, little tiny cups. So I go in there. I must have been 11, and I just pig out on it, right?
8, 10 cups.
Yeah, we got the car. My mother's bought some, and she's pouring everybody a cup. And she goes, "You want some?" "No, I'm full. I've just had like 16 free cups." And she threw a fit about it. You know,
She should have been in charge of
made
you.
a pig out of yourself. You know.
I remember going in somewhere and there was like taffy, all these different flavors. And years later, when our kids were little, they had taffy over at Fresh Market with these different flavors. And like I remembered how much joy I had just tasting all these different things. So I went and I got a bag and I filled it up for the kids. Like, here's one of the bubblegum for you, one of the bubblegum flavor for you, one of the lemon, one of the peppermint for you.
That reminds me. We went on a family trip. Maybe it was a church trip. I can't remember. It was some place like Stone Mountain or something, and there was an old mill on the side of some pond or something, and like an old mill where they would grind corn into or what wheat into.
Hence the word mill.
Yeah, but they had a little store there, and they had all this old-fashioned candy, like sticks, candy canes, like root beer flavored or
Apple.
what's that? Not birch
Sour
bark,
apple.
birchwood, like weird flavors like that, you know. Yeah. I had tried some. I was like, this is bizarre tasting.
Well, when we went to the Agorama, they had the old-fashioned store, and we got the 10-cent sticks of candy for the kids down there then. Do you remember
Do you
that?
remember? I don't remember a store at the Agorama.
Yeah, it was
I
a
remember we walked we walked by the, what do you call it? Where they make horseshoes. What do they call that?
boo, 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 boo. I don't know. I can't remember.
The Smith.
Smithy, okay.
Yeah. So and there was this kid. I don't know. Maybe he was 20, 21, and he was dressed up as the, what do they call the damn thing? It's not Smith,
Blacksmith.
blacksmith's thing. And he stared at me just hatefully, like I had done something bad to him. It's like, what in the hell is your problem? Oh, my stomach is hurting. Do you remember at Six Flags they had like the Wild West world in one part of it, and they would have You don't remember this? Frontier Land or whatever, and they had a phony cowboy shootout in the street.
Oh, Lord.
Like shootout at one or whatever, and everybody would gather in a big crowd, and this guy dressed as a cowboy came out, and he said, now, during the course of this next little skit we're going to do, I'm going to be firing this gun, and I don't want anybody to be scared at how loud it is, so I'm going to fire it right now, and that way you'll be used to how loud the damn thing is. And it was like a bomb going off. You've been around fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had that asshole uncle that used my shoulder to steady his aim.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the reasons I'm hard of hearing.
I have tinnitus because I've listened to loud music in the car for 30 years. Oh, Lord. I'm getting sleepy now. Let's see how long we've been recording.
It's been a long time. We've been doing this a long time. We should call
Yeah,
it quits.
we have reached an hour. Okay. So I need to pick out some artwork now and we'll do this. All right. Bye.
Good night.